Hi, my name is Deya, and I'm going to talk about dysphoria, transness, transition, detransition, and to change your mind as many times as you like.
Hello, my name is Oliver and I'm a trans guy who makes videos about LGBTQIA+ people where they get to talk about anything that they want that somehow relates to them being queer. Orlando and I both live in Gothenburg, Sweden, and we have been trying to schedule this interview forever. After being stopped by the weather, colds, and unmatching schedules, we finally managed to make the video happen in early September.
My name is Orlando Deya. I'm 47 years old. I go by pronouns they, them. I'm French, British, Swedish-ish, and I want to change the world.
This video is going to be about the many times that Orlando has changed. But let's start with how they identify now.
Today I identify as non-binary or genderfluid, and I identify as someone who changes all the time. And we live in a world where we don't really have the right to change, so this is important.
This is how their way of identifying has changed throughout the years.
I grew up in the 80s and 90s where it was no big space to be queer, and I basically hadn't heard any of it. And the first time I heard about homosexuals was when I was 15, and my mother lowered her voice and whispered to me that, you know, your cousin, Leonard, he's gay. How she told me, I understood that this was a secret, it was something bad. And she said, yeah, it must be because he had such a bad relationship with his father. So I got like a lot of homophobia from home. So when I started to realize I liked girls, I was 21. I was heterosexual, cis, feminine woman, and I love being feminine woman in many ways. And then I met this girl, and she completely seduced me, and I was just, whoa. All my homophobia got questioned, and I realized that, okay, I had to come out. It took me 2 years to come out. I came out as a lesbian and was 100% lesbian for many years, and militant and all that. And then I realized I fell in love with a guy and got all confused and just, no, but I'm a lesbian, what the fuck? Okay, I'm bisexual then. And then a couple of years later, I saw a film called Venus Boys, a documentary about drag kings, and something deep within me just vibrated. And I realized that maybe I'm not a girl, or what is this? I had this very male part in me that I needed to investigate and be. So for many years I swapped my energy and really went into it and was a guy and had this urge to pass as a guy. And 5 years after that I started on hormones, and maybe 5 years after that I started to oh, but this feminine part of me is also part of me. So I took it back and realized that, okay, I've been cis, I've been hetero, I've been feminine, I've been masculine, I've been a man, I've been it all. So why choose? Why do I need to be one or the other? I'm all of it, it's all me. And I still don't know who I will be tomorrow, and I can't know before tomorrow, right? So who knows what's next? So I identify as gender fluid because I'm fluid, I'm changing, always in change.
Now, Orlando is going to talk about detransition, and I know this is a super sensitive subject, but I hope that you will, if you want to, listen to Orlando's words and let them broaden the perspective of what detransition means.
I've been having a lot of thoughts around detransition lately because I've been thinking, am I becoming a girl again? Do I actually want to be a girl? Do I regret that I took hormones and being a boy? And sometimes I feel, yeah, sometimes I do feel regret, and sometimes I just feel, no, this is who I am. And me being more girly today is not about detransitioning necessarily. Like, detransition is a very binary concept. It's like you transition from one to the other and then you detransition back. But I don't detransition back because I don't want to go back anywhere. I'm going forwards, right? So I'm taking all parts of me, my male part, my female part, my quite neutral parts, gender neutral parts, and I'm going forwards. Technically, people could call it detransition, but I would like to broaden the word in that case. I'm happy to be who I am today.
Diving into another subject, dysphoria. Let me just remind you that these are Orlando's thoughts and feelings, and they are 100% valid. If you feel the complete opposite, that's also valid.
I would like to ask the question, what is dysphoria? Where does it come from? And I would really like to have a big discussion about that within our community. Because I'm thinking like dysphoria is many parts. There's some parts that is about sexism, it's about patriarchy, about beauty standards. Some parts are about age. Some parts are about racism, about ableism, lookism. There's a lot of different oppressions basically that creates dysphoria. And I would like to have a discussion about what comes from within and what comes from the outside. I'm thinking that a lot is coming from the outside and that we need to be clear within ourselves about what can I fight in the outside and what do I need to do right now just to survive. Because it is a very violent world, and it is very violent if you go out of the gender box, if you go out of the norm. And I would like us to be clear within ourselves about what is dysphoria, because the clinical description of dysphoria in DSM, this manual for mental diseases, where transsexualism and dysphoria, it's described like something that just is there, like it's in part of your essence. So it's just you're born in the wrong body, you hate your body. There's a whole description that comes from this manual, DSM manual, and I think that we internalize it. And we internalize it because we need to survive, right? And how do we support each other and how do we survive in this violent world and be true to ourselves? What is what?
Orlando wants to clarify that they do not think that all dysphoria comes from the outside. Of course, dysphoria can also come from within.
I think we need to be clear with ourselves. Why do we transition? Do we transition to survive? Do we transition to be true to ourselves? Do we transition to be able to be accepted by our surroundings? What comes from within? What comes from the outside? And I'm not saying that is right or wrong to transition. This is not the discussion here. I'm saying that we need to be clear about it, because I have the feeling now that like the TERFs are setting the agenda, the haters are setting the agenda, and we are just trying to defend ourselves in the main discussions. And I think we need to be clear about why we do what we do.
They think we can find inspiration in the feminist movement.
Like the feminist movement for decades have been fighting against beauty standards and been fighting to be able to be a woman however you look like. And that is a very important struggle and a very important fight. And I'm really grateful for what the feminists have done and still are doing and fighting for. And we have still a lot to do there. I would like to take this a step further and to fight for the right to be a human, a real human, whatever your looks, right? Whatever your looks, you are a worthy human. And you fit in the box you want to create for yourself. And you can break that box whenever you want, right?
Because gender diversity is not a new thing.
There are so many cultures that before colonization, before Christianity ruined the world. Like, there's so many places in the world where there were 5 genders, 4 genders, 3 genders, 10 genders. There's loads of examples all over the world where there were more than 2 genders. And I want to go back to that, or I want to find that again, or maybe we need to find it in a new way, but like, there are so many genders.
Orlando also wanted to talk about changing.
One reason why so many people hate trans people, I think that it's about trans people change. They go from one to another, or they change all the time. There is a change. And we live in a world that is very rigid and wants to like control everything and box things in and like, And we are a threat to that because we do the opposite of that. And that's why I think, for example, that binary trans people are more accepted, because they fit more easily into that idea that, oh, okay, now I can understand. You go from male to female or from female to male. Ah, okay, that's understandable, you know. But if you go from female to whatever or nothing or what, or you go from, no, I'm not female, I'm just who I am. It's like that fucks it all up so much, so it becomes a threat, and I think that scares people so much so they have to hate it.
A totally different thing that Orlando wants to do with this video is pitch a new sexual orientation.
If there was a definition for people who get attracted to trans people, a sexuality that was specifically for them, because now, like, we have homosexuals who are attracted to someone of the same sex. We're heterosexuals, you're attracted to someone of the opposite sex. Bisexuals, attracted to both sex or to different genders. Pansexual, attracted to different genders, all kinds of genders. But there's no sexuality for those of us who are attracted to trans people. And that is the thing. I mean, I am not just in a transition in order to become something else. I am trans, and there is people who desire me or have romantic feelings around me and bodies like mine. And I think we really need a word for that, to create that space. And the best word would be transsexual. Like homosexual, heterosexual, transsexual. It is a bit occupied for the moment, that word, but maybe we should reclaim it.
And now, some reflection on the current situation and the way forward.
As humans, we all need love, we all need belonging, we have an urge for freedom and safety or security. And I think that we are very confused around what all that is and how we create belonging, and that I think that there is a confusion that belonging is finding an enemy or having a we and a them. But no, belonging is actually we all belong together, and we're all in this boat together, and we all just want to be ourselves and be loved for who we are. And when we are raised in a way where we can't be loved for who we are, of course we hate when someone just is themselves. Of course it's a threat, but we need to go beyond that first, like, oh, what the fuck feeling of being threatened or jealousy because someone is actually having the guts and the nerve to be fully themselves in a world that doesn't allow anyone to be themselves. So yeah, we have a lot to learn the world. And we all have a lot to learn from each other, really.
If you enjoyed watching that video, please like, comment, subscribe and share the video. I really appreciate you showing your love in that way. If you also want to support the channel financially, that's possible via Patreon, but really no pressure. See you next time!